Okay, so here today with Jay from Miroshot and Metaverse and general blockchain enthusiast and
Yep, yep.
business owner. How are you
hmm
doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Just trying to change the world one day at a time.
As always, yeah.
Always.
Okay, let's crack it off then. So what is Miroshot and what was the concept behind it, basically?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I haven't spoken about Miroshot for a while on a podcast, but realistically, it was. I mean, it started off as a band fundamentally, but it. I mean, one of the things that we really wanted to showcase was that everybody that was involved in all the things around the band were also artists themselves. And
Yeah,
there were the concepts about democratizing technology through music and art. So it ended up becoming a collective of musicians, coders, filmmakers, and designers. And we all came together to create the world's first immersive multi-sensory live VR slash AR concert.
awesome, man. How did you go into the sort of blockchain world then from it just being a band? What made you
I
go that
mean,
way?
in terms of, I suppose it must be it's quite I mean, realistically, when we mostly focused on VR and AR and using that and multidisciplinary experiential stuff,
You
but
worked in VR before, didn't you?
yes,
Yeah.
but personally me, I it's just a natural progression because when you're looking at how you're going to store things, if there's going to be a way that people can be anonymous when they're either watching things or experiencing whether it's applications and so on and so forth, the natural way to do that is through the blockchain because you can preserve anonymity and also you can create either um, whether you want to have payments or anything like that through the system, then blockchain is the only way forward.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of this stuff on Instagram. Obviously, did you say you did South by Southwest?
Yeah, I mean the band went to play South by Southwest,
That's pretty
and for
big.
the first, I mean it's been I think 3 years in the making because COVID, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
But there's also Roman, who is one of the sort of the lead of Miroshot, has also got a startup that he's been putting together over the last few years, and they also did a sort of metaverse NFT gallery where people were allowed to go in and actually see NFT
awesome.
for South by Southwest as well. So yeah, that was quite crazy. Yeah, I mean it's been a wild sort of 7 years in terms of
So it's 7 years in the making.
what Miroshot started as in terms of when we started messing around with VR and AR to where the world is now. And now, Mark Zuckerberg um, decided to start, change the name of Facebook to Meta.
Yeah.
It really was the starting pistol. And it feels like where we were sort of 10 years ago when the hype cycle around VR started. It feels like we're back there again. People are really, really excited about whether that's investors, just people, in terms of people with entrepreneurs and people with companies that want to make products for it, as well as people that want to look at the legislation around it. Everybody's very excited and trying to figure out what Web3 or what the metaverse means to them and their companies.
Yeah.
I personally myself, where I'm looking at the I suppose the contrarian edge to that, because most people are thinking, how can I make my own metaverse or my experience in the metaverse as vast and expansive? Everyone's trying to bring people into their world, whereas me and the other guys I'm working on a new startup with, we're looking at how we can make it really small, like short form experiences, and how we can
Okay.
bring the metaverse into everybody's lives, the other way around. So bring the metaverse into the real world
All
rather
right,
than
got
bring the
you.
real world into this. I always feel like new technologies will never really take off until they can become part of your day-to-day lives.
No,
Like
exactly. Yeah, it's the
social,
whole mass adoption thing until people
exactly,
until Joe Blogs in the street uses it and knows what it is.
exactly.
My parents, my brothers, my sisters, they don't know what metaverse is, and until everyone does,
Yeah,
that's when it will take
yeah.
off, and that's when everyone will start using them.
If you look at the way like technological adoption works, you either have two ways. It's either a ground up or a top down approach. So, for example, a good example of the technological change was when they changed what money was made of. So beforehand, you had money was made out of specific paper, and now they're using this plastic meat-based product thing that they're doing. And it wasn't a case where it was a bottom up, it was governments deciding this is what we're doing, we're changing it, and then overnight they changed it. That's a top-down approach. However, sometimes you need a bottom-up approach where it's something that's adopted en masse by a whole load of people. And then because the majority decides to do it, then the people that make it decide, you know what, screw it, everybody's going to do it. A perfect example of that would be touchscreen phones. Before, there was a point when everybody had keyed phones, and there was a few touchscreen phones. I remember when Apple came out, and I think LG, and there was like 3 or 4 touchscreen phones, but the majority of phones were with, keypads.
Yeah.
And I remember being part of the BlackBerry brigade, and we were like,
I'm in that as well, yeah.
We will never ever choose a touchscreen phone. But it just got to a point where so many people had touchscreen phones, nearly all phones became touchsine phones.
Do you know what? I found my BlackBerry the other day. I was like, amazing. I'm going to see if this still works. Turned on, the battery's just like melted. But yeah, the BlackBerry days were good, man. I mean, it was sort of the original QR code. The BlackBerry pin thing. It was like you just hand it to people, they scan it, done. That was sort of the original QR code, and we're just kind of moving on now from that.
I mean, to be honest, we still haven't moved. We haven't moved on from the QR code. I think it's actually.
Oh no, I mean moving on from the pin. The QR code sort of replaced the pin, the BlackBerry pin.
My biggest regret is that we weren't able to do enough at the advent of augmented reality to push people on from the QR code. Because I still think it's like when you see someone using outdated technology.
It's still used, isn't it? The QR code is still seen as like
and I'm just like, you don't need a QR code. You can augment the same information onto an image or even the thing that you're scanning. So you don't need the QR code, but they've what people are like. It's like the barcode, right? Technically, the QR code can replace every barcode in the world. Every single barcode, every barcode that's scanned at a shop or whatever, and they just need a QR code reader instead of a barcode reader.
But I guess this is where the next wave of NFTs come in, because they will store information on them. You can have your IDs on there, you can have your logins, you can have every bit of info just on a picture or something. So we'll use that.
To be honest, at some point when Web3 becomes mass adopted, you won't even have logins, because it will be your phone that does the encryption. So it doesn't matter. Your app, the app on your phone will already have you logged in, and then you just connect to the internet and stuff. Obviously, when the way Web3 would work would be that nobody on the internet has access to or we want to reduce the amount of people that have access to your information anyway. So KYCs, all of that sort of stuff wouldn't really matter. There's other ways of, as you say, recognizing who you are, whether that's an image, whether that's bio, I don't know, like when you log in with your fingerprint or whatever. Like that. And because the information will be encrypted and sent via a blockchain, it would be, don't get me wrong, nothing's impossible to hack, but it would be very, very difficult.
No, definitely. I think the sort of misconception of NFTs is they're just pictures, they're JPEGs, and it's like that's the initial wave. That starts the Yahoo to the Google to the everything. Yeah. That's just the first step. What can actually be done with them is crazy. Like you say, the whole identification, the logins, all this sort of stuff. Like,
I mean, it's just a token. So it's just the representation of the token is the image, but the actual NFT itself is the non-fungible token itself. So realistically, an NFT can be anything. You can make NFT as long as it's not fungible. That's all.
Agreed. Okay, going back to music just briefly then. Do you think we'll see a decentralized Spotify, or do you think that artists need labels and artists need that backing?
I mean, this is fundamentally, we set Miroshot up as a as a criticism of the music industry. The idea with the Miroshot is that you wanted a decentralized collective that could do everything that a record label could do, a band could do, all the people around it. So we can make our own website, we can make our own music videos, we can create our own marketing campaigns. That was the idea. And to be honest, that's kind of what the independent labels were supposed to do. And what then happened was big labels started just buying up independents. So they then just became parts of, it's just a different name. So it looks cool, but in reality, it's still Sony or BMG or music group is doing the same thing. So at that point, it was like, okay, everybody's trying to mind my language, fuck me if I'm an artist. You know, it's there's a lack of ownership. You don't have any control as to who's even going to bring your revenue in when it comes to things like royalties. And then the record labels brought in these 360 deals where they literally owned everything. You couldn't even make money off your touring. They were making that. So it had to happen. It had to happen. I think what you're going to see now is people utilize. There's going to be a whole raft of snake oil salesmen, which always happens at the beginning of any technological wave. But eventually, people are, you know, more and more artists are going to build small communities around them, but actually make more money. So, like, you know, Kanye West, when he released his album on his stem player thing, hardly sold any actual copies. I mean, maybe it was like 200,000, which you're thinking, mate, he normally sells millions, but
he made more money.
Made way more money.
Yeah.
And so if you have a smaller community that are actually really involved in your artwork, then they'll happily pay more. I mean, it's always been the case. If you look at a lot of these older bands, like, they're not necessarily gaining new supporters or new fans, but their fans are more involved. So instead of a fan just buying a ticket to go see them on tour, the fan will buy the ticket, the t-shirt, the jumper, the whatever. And so if you have someone that's doing that and you multiply that by a certain amount, then you've got enough to stay, you know, functional. However, it depends what kind of artist you are. Me as an artist, I've always taken the point of view that as long as I'm able to continue making art, then I don't really care. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I need to be a billionaire and whatever through art. Through business is different, but through art, it's like, I just want to be able to afford to be able to go to the studio or to be able to, you know, buy my equipment or whatever it needs. Takes for me to make it.
I guess SoundCloud's been around for a while, and that's sort of the indie artist breakthrough, isn't it? Of, you know, that's where you start out. You don't need, you can gain a little cult following on there, and then you can move it then onto other things. But a lot of artists, like you said, they make more money from that than when they go on Spotify and stuff. Because I looked at the Spotify stream payment numbers, and they're like shocking.
It's just a different form of what I would call some company that is able to understand how to use technology and legality to screw over the actual people that are making the content. Because that's what record labels were doing before. They were like, oh yeah, you know what, you make this song. What I will do is I will get it out there for you. I'll get people to your concert. I'll do all that bit. And then I'll recoup all the costs, and then we'll split the takings.
You have to pay the advance back as well, don't you?
Exactly. Well, yeah. If it's
that comes out of your budget straight away. But yeah,
of course. And so they're like, yeah, do you want this car? We'll get you the car. Do you want that? We'll get you that. And then when it comes back to it, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you now owe us that car.
You owe, exactly. You owe us now for all that stuff.
So So it's, you know, it's a great time, I think, to be an artist. However, it's the one time where you can't just be a very narrow-minded artist. You can't just be a musician. You have to kind of be a bit of a businessman. You have to kind of be a bit of a technologist. You have to kind of understand visuals and at least have an understanding that you need to get people that can do those things.
No, I agree with you as well. You can use the analogy that as a small independent artist making your own money and getting 100% of the profits, it's sort of like social media following. It's better sometimes to have 1,000 people that love everything you do and interact with everything than these people that have like 100,000 people and they don't interact at all. It's pointless. There's no benefit to it. It's better to have just a small group that love what you do.
It's the same analogy with friends. You can't have, I think it's something, there's a saying that you can't keep a certain more than, I think it's something like 50 relationships going at the same time. At that point, everyone. That's
way too much for me, man. That's crazy. 50, what?
But the reality, because some of them be your friends, some will be your parents,
20,
your family, blah blah. But then there gets to a certain point where it's not. You can't keep tabs on everybody all the time. You can't keep calling them. Media. How can you respond to more than a certain amount of people on your own every day if they're messaging you all the time? It's impossible. And if people are fans of yours, they expect and they deserve that. If they're following you, supporting you, buying your stuff, they deserve some kind of interaction at some point, I think.
And as well on socials, the algorithms now, you don't even see the people close to you. I don't see anything my friends put up. I just see random posts every day.
Oh, you know that Instagram has gone back to the what's it called again? Posts. So if you go onto Instagram, you can actually click on. So you see, look here. I'm going to show you. Whoa, can you see my phone? No, you can't. Never mind.
No.
On the Instagram,
you could try share. No, probably best not share screen actually.
Yeah, no, there's nothing on my computer that's dodgy. Yeah, no, in terms of Instagram, they've now gone back to the chronological feed, because they stopped that for a while.
Okay.
So now you can select it. So it doesn't necessarily come up all the time. You can select it. You can select it to go showing who you're following rather than just general feed.
Right.
And so
Good.
that will now show you what Instagram used to be like, where it shows what the latest thing that all your mates have posted.
Right.
So
Finally. Yeah, that's needed.
Trust me, for a long time, I just get meme accounts and just be like, and I love memes,
same.
but I was like, Jesus.
It's the discovery page. The discovery page is literally just garbage. I've never clicked anything that's actually useful on there. It's just it's people paying for it, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it's garbage.
Everything's paid rather than actual natural interaction anymore.
And also the algorithms change continually as well. But all that sort of stuff is going to change again with Web3, because with Web3 you can't. I mean, cookies are going to be very difficult. Go on.
I was going to say, what do you think about Elon buying shares in Twitter? Do you think that'll be a good thing?
Why not?
I'm all for it. I'm like, because I think he'll do good. I love Elon now, so yeah.
He's like, well, if you're not going to listen, I'll just buy some shares.
Right, I think we've actually covered loads of this in that now. What are the key benefits? What are the key benefits for artists to have decentralized music?
But I mean, I would say less of the blockchain and more about, I suppose, crypto and ICOs and being able to offer your offerings as things like NFTs. It means that people can stake you as an artist. So instead of, let's say, if you use the old model, your label is the one staking. Your label's betting on the fact that your album is going to be decent. So your label has to put in a massive amount of money. And then if it fucks up, then your label loses money. That's the reality. But or you actually lose money that you haven't even earned yet. But with the current model that we're looking at, you could have things where it's like the crowdfunding model. Do you know what I mean? Instead of saying, oh yeah, whatever, you say, look, every single person buy an NFT that's going to be an album. And then you've got, if you've got, let's say, 100,000 fans and they all put in like 100 quid, that's £1 million.
Yeah.
And then they all are guaranteed like an album, maybe like a hard press, so on and so forth, stuff that they would have got if they bought like a limited edition. I don't know, Radiohead released a limited edition to Rainbows, where it was like you got like a multi-vinyl press set as well as a DVD and whatever. So you can do all that, but instead of having to pay it back, you don't owe anyone any money. You just owe people products.
Like there's no limits on what you can do as an artist if you're on crypto. If you're in crypto, you can monetize anything.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, not even as an artist, as a creative or as an entrepreneur, you should be able to monetize anything. You've got these companies now that are able to pay off big media organizations or even social media organizations to make sure that no other people can enter the market. And that's where it becomes a bit not even cannibalistic, it becomes autocratic. And
well, then that comes down to then how are the powers that be, the big wigs, going to be able to control? They're going to have to control this. There's no way that they're going to let every person in the world earn their own money 100% decentralized.
But there's no.
They're going to come up. They're going to have to
stop it. You can't stop it. For example, with crypto, they were like the big banks, the big governments were like, we're going to stop this. We can't allow this to happen. Look where we are now. We're at a point where Britain is about to launch its own cryptocurrency and the British government is going to start the what's it called again? The Bank of England is going to start minting its own NFTs.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. Yeah.
So to understand that we've got to this point means that they've had to do a complete 180 to where they were.
No, I loved seeing that. I loved seeing the banks at the beginning. We're going to stop this, and this will never catch on. It's all a scam. To a year later, we're now investing in NFTs.
They've invested in companies like Ethereum. Yep, you heard it. I said it here first.
Yeah,
there's companies that
they've been doing it underhandedly though. They've been investing
doing it because they've got a hedge, because they're just in case. Yeah. That's how they work. That's how their whole business model works. So you can't really expect them to now. I mean, when the internet first came out, they said they were going to control the internet, but the internet is nearly like 80% porn. They don't control shit. You know what I mean? The dark web is most of the internet. Everybody forgets that. So it's impossible. You can't control. You can't what you would need to control such a large network would be, I mean, you'd need a good barrage of quantum computers.
The internet's easier to control than crypto.
No.
And decentralized.
Unless you just shut off the internet for people. That's all you
Yeah,
can do.
which is what you can do.
But you can't shut off
Technically, the government could do that. They could restrict what you can.
You can't shut off satellites. You can't shut off.
But they can restrict what you can see. They can limit what you see.
Only if you go through government process. What's it called again? Their protocols. It's everything that exists between all the interconnected computers in the world. What you're talking about is the www protocol that exists on the internet.
Okay, fine, yeah.
So
that's more what I'm talking about.
You can't control. It's literally like saying.
Oh yeah, no, you can't control the actual internet. But yeah, I'm talking about websites.
The World Wide Web.
And yeah, the World Wide Web.
It's going to be very difficult to control because you can create little what's it called again? Little networks somewhere on it. All you need is a bunch of computers that are interconnected that have internet capacity, and you can create your own. You can create www3, www4, whatever it is, and then you can just give everybody the protocols to get onto that. I think the difficulty is that the way the HTTPS and HTTP protocols work, it means that to have all of that connected somewhere, once again, it's computing power. The computing power you'd need is so massive that if you wanted to be able to monitor, because control is more about being able to monitor and then make things and sort of implement things as you want. To be able to do that, the amount of nodes you'd have to control, it's exponentially large.
Yeah.
And no government right now has that kind of power.
Until
quantum computing becomes commercially available.
Basically, crypto and the Web3 thing is just a repeat of that initial .com.
Yeah,
boom, isn't it? It's literally the same thing. It's the same. It's the same people saying it'll never work. It's a scam. It's all crap, and it's just a loop now. But we've just moved up a stage.
Yeah, and this time, however, the world isn't. The rest of the world aren't idiots.
No, everyone's switched on now. Yeah.
That time around, everybody was like, "Oh no!" I mean, do you remember when they said like the Millennium Bug was going to shut down the world because like we had, and everybody was like, "Oh shit!" Like. Now people are like, mate, come on.
The thing is, we didn't have any sources other than what we saw on TV back then.
Yeah.
People forget that. It's like
have Google, do you know what I mean?
When you speak to younger people now, like how did you ever believe stuff like this? It's like you don't understand. All we ever saw was what's in the newspapers, magazines, and TV. That's it.
Like beforehand, you had choke points, and those choke points could be affected by industries, governments, so on and so forth. Now, like people don't even get the news from the news. Most people I know get the news from Reddit.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. That's actually ridiculous when you think about it.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, though.
I know, but it means
because I mean that has brought the rise of fake news, which is pretty much 90% of the news now.
But I'm going to throw a spanner in the works to say that fake news was always 90% of the news.
Yeah,
that's the reality, right? It's just that now we can see the difference. Whereas beforehand, you didn't have any other references. You were like, if they said, I mean, come on.
Although it worries me that some people don't see the difference. I mean, there's stuff that comes out and you have people going insane over it that it's real. It's like, what? It's the whole flat Earth thing. That baffles me.
Yeah, but at least there's an option.
There is, but there's some things there shouldn't be an option. There's science.
But science has been wrong before.
It has, but...
And so therefore you also...
Until we can prove it wrong, it's right.
For me, no, I disagree. I feel like you should always question everything.
Oh yeah, question it. But what I mean is science is right. Science is right up until the date it's proved wrong. And that's how we've always lived.
I think that's as a general consensus, but individually you can't, because if that was the case, Einstein wouldn't have come up with the theory of relativity because he just accepted Newtonian physics completely. We wouldn't have quantum physics now because they'd have just accepted Einsteinian physics and they wouldn't have thought about things as in the small, everything would have just been massive, super massive physics. So you have to have people that think the other way. And sometimes they're right to such a point that they just prove current theories. But in terms of the way, and that, to be honest, is only going to increase because now that we're going to have, I mean, the internet, Web3 is going to expand the internet because now you've only got everything that is on the internet right now, right? So when you have people that could create their own metaverses, they're going to have so much stuff on their own individual metaverse, and all those individual metaverses are going to have one massive super space that is going to be like one meta universe. It's going to be crazy.
It's
And
actually mind blowing. What do you think the scale is for that time scale? I always keep saying to people, 2025, I think we'll see the first proper metaverse.
I think that you are, according to Moore's law, no. Surely it should be by this time, this December, because every generation things get faster and computing.
This year, you'll think we'll see a proper metaverse this year.
What do you mean? The metaverse already exists.
No, as in one that we can immerse ourselves in, Ready Player One style.
That's different. I think that assuming what things are going to look like by what we think they should look like compared to what they actually will be is two different things. Look at Roblox. Let's look at Roblox, Minecraft, and Fortnite.
Fortnite, yeah.
So Fortnite versus Minecraft. It's like, surely everybody should be like, Minecraft's rubbish. Look at the frigging gameplay in it. Fortnite's the way. No, Minecraft all day, every day.
No, I get that, and a lot of the games that are coming out on the metaverse look like 8-bit,
because people
Master
don't
System
need,
games.
For immersion, you don't need it to be. You don't need it to be lifelike. You're still thinking about it.
No, but I'm thinking of it as, what do I want? And if I'm gonna spend all day in a metaverse, I want it to be a better version of my life that I've got now.
You will be shocked and I'm telling you this, and remember I've told you this, is that I don't think we can predict what that's going to be. And the reason I say that is, if I look at VR and what we thought people wanted was, as you say, the thing that they can really get lost in. Yeah, some of the most simplistic things are the things that were most successful because they got lost in those things. It's more about gameplay and the ability to have immersion. And the ability to have immersion isn't necessarily just visual. It's also things like scent. It's also things like haptics. It's also things like, feedback. So it might be a case like with the Miroshot experience, we realized that one of the big things that changed people's experience was when they could smell stuff, and then it became real. So it didn't matter how good the graphics were. As soon as they could smell things that made them think of those things, they really believed they were there. The other thing is time. The more time, so the thing, there's basically a thing that you experience when you're in an immersive, like a digital surrounding experience. That time passes slower. I think so. Yeah, so it passes slower. So you think you've been there for like 5 minutes, but actually you've been there for like 3 minutes. That's actually a proven thing. Yeah. So the longer you can stay in, the more immersed you get. And people have things like body displacement where they feel that their hand is actually the thing they're controlling with their hand. And the longer you do that, the more that is reality. Yeah. So it's not about graphics. It's all about what the actual experience is and how many senses you can engage. Yeah.
But on a point now, what did you say the internet mostly is 90% porn? What is 90% of metaverse going to be?
Porn.
You don't want to look at Minecraft.
It depends. If the Minecraft girl is actually another person talking to you and you can hear them talking and you can feel them.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Believe what I'm saying.
And my taste's going to change to like blocks.
Like there's certain things that are biological, which makes sense. But on the other side of things is that I can tell you right now, the amount of money that's been put into what we'd call immersive adult tech is probably mind-blowing. You and I wouldn't even believe it.
I can imagine. I imagine that that's where the most money is going. If I know humans and I know
exactly,
then
So there's no point we can we'll do all the other stuff, but the fact is, what we will always represent reality. It's like humans will always represent themselves in anything they build. That's why robots eventually will always end up looking like humans, even though that's not necessarily the most logical thing. Like realistically, if you were going to build a perfect robot, it should be an insect, realistically. But because we always want to see ourselves in our. Well,
also that would freak us out as well.
Yeah, but
a 6 foot insect.
That's what.
I know what you're saying, though. Yeah.
If you look at nature, those are the perfect instruments of how nature has built things. Those are the things. Insects are the things that survive anything. Like the bloody cockroach, it's indestructible. But because we want to see ourselves and because we are ego-driven, then we will build things like a human. Humans are fucking shit animals.
Well, we think we're the pinnacle, don't we?
Yeah,
as a race, we think we're the be-all and end-all and everything should be under us. So when in actuality, we're the only thing on the planet that if was wiped out, the planet would flourish.
Fine. Yeah, they'd just be like the planet.
So we're actually the least important thing on this planet.
Yeah, of course we are.
Which is bizarre, but yeah.
I know, but so my point is that of course there's going to be shitloads of porn. Like, it's just logical, because in every situation, whenever there's a new technology, when they invented books, at first people were like, whatever. But eventually, what do? Fucking start doing porn magazines, because it's logical. That is eventually what's going to happen. So then we had films. Eventually, what did we start doing? Making porn films. So then we had the internet, and the internet was the best place because there was no regulation. Because that's the only reason the porn wasn't as widespread, because of the regulations. So when you have no regulations, fuck yeah, the porn people are going to get in, especially fetish groups, because then they can really explore their fetishes. Things that you can't do in real life, you can do online, right? Things that, in fact, for example, Second Life, the game. One of the biggest groups in Second Life in terms of that spent money in there were the people that dress up as animals, furries. Right. They paid the most money in there, because you can hide behind your identity. You can be as wild as whatever you want. So people always choose the abstract rather than actual real stuff, because it's the opportunity to be completely fantastical rather than something you have to be.
It's literally mind blowing. Like the stuff it sends I go cross-eyed thinking about the possibilities of everything. It's crazy because you go down one route and then that expands into 20 routes, and then each one of those 20 routes has got 20 routes. And it's like, oh my god.
The problem with the metaverse is that it's infinite.
Yeah,
that's the reality, and to me, that's not a problem. That's the beauty of it. I love it. I'm so excited.
Of course,
I'm genuinely excited.
No, I'll say this is the most exciting thing that's happened while I've probably in the last 20 years for me. In terms of I've rejuvenated an excitement that I'd lost. I'd just kind of burnt out just from years and years of just doing the same old things on a loop. I'd burnt out from events. I'd burnt out from all this stuff, and then this came along, and I was like, "This is amazing." I think it's the most exciting thing that's happened for a very, very long time.
I think yes. My wish is for us to get to a point. I mean, we're building something that's going to allow that, but I want to be able to do stuff like, there's already people that are meta artists. So they are like, there's a thing called Teflon Sega. You should look at Teflon Sega. He's or she, you don't know who it is a 3D representation of a human who makes music and releases music on YouTube. And you're not sure who, like, you don't know who's behind it or whatever. But
that's really cool.
Fans of. Think of, like, if you didn't know who was behind Gorillaz.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I guess that's it. It has been done, but it's the Gorillaz did it. I'm sure they tried this as well in like the 70s or 80s or some like music robot thing. But
the thing with Gorillaz is that you knew it was Damon Albarn from day one.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we don't know who they are kind of thing. I'm talking about complete anonymity.
Yeah.
That's what Web3 and the Metaverse is going to allow us to do. Anybody can be anything. You could have always wanted to be a singer, but maybe you're not great at performing, whatever. You can now create your own avatar. Your avatar goes and does all the shows, and you just make the music. Nuts. Yeah. Absolutely nuts. That's what I'm excited about. And that's what I can't wait for, because that's when you're going to see, like, in terms of creativity, everything's going to go up. Because just think about how many people are so good at things, but never show because they are either too embarrassed or too worried about stuff. All those people are now going to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. No, I wish I was 20 when all this was coming out now, because I'd have done things very differently, because I was sort of the same. And I'm not a big, hey, everyone look at me type person. Yeah. But I always wanted to get my stuff out there, and I was always like, you know what, I don't want to show it to anyone unless it's perfect. And I was always like that. Whereas now I could hide behind an avatar and be in the metaverse and just get everything I want out there. And it'd be massively different. So it's exciting for everyone young coming up now.
It's always about allowing other people to think it's okay for me to do things differently. And that's always been the way that I've tried to do things anyway. However, now we can really make an impact. Like, there's a difference between before it's like, oh yeah, maybe do a few parties, consult some brands. Yeah, cool. But now it's like, actually, what you're doing now could lead someone to really change the world. What you're doing now could be the precursor to someone forming the next Facebook.
Yeah. No, 100%.
That's the gravity of the situation.
I've been telling a few mates and stuff that are in certain businesses. I've been telling them what's possible and like what we can do, and really wanting them to understand it, because they're in positions where they could actually do something amazing, but they're not switched onto it yet. They're just like, yeah, cool. I'll talk to me later, like in a year or something. Like
but that's
it's not there yet, and
yeah.
it's frustrating. But they'll all come around, and I guarantee in 6 months I'll be getting messages.
Gets me people like, oh, do you want to like? There's a few research teams at certain universities that I've been contacted about. They're like, oh, can you help us with this? Do you want to join this research team? Do you want to go on this course? And I'm just like, guys, you're like 10 years too late, mate. I was like, if you called me 10 years ago, I'd be keen to help you. But and I was jumping up and down, shouting about this stuff, saying that everybody should be doing this, but no one's listening. Now, guess where we are, bros. So anyway, I think the key
I will give you the credit. About 5 or 6 years ago, you were telling me about some of this stuff.
I've always lived in this world, so it's not difficult for me. Like,
you've definitely always been in your own world, yeah.
I know exactly, yeah, definitely. And even though I was doing other stuff, I've always just been waiting for the technology to be there. And now it's
the tech's caught up with what you want to do now.
And now we can just really let go.
Yeah.
I can't stay for long. I mean, it's been great.
I was literally going to say is like we've covered loads. Just lastly, let's drop in. Then, is there anything you can drop that's coming up? What are you working on, and where should people follow you?
Yes. So there is something we're launching. Well, there's a lot that's coming up. We're working on NFT drops for very, very huge music stars. We're doing something with a specific royal that I can't mention who it is. There's going to be, we're launching our platform hopefully in January, but there's going to be a lead up to that. There's going to be loads and loads of different things.
Okay. And is that got a place people can follow yet, or is socials for it? Okay, cool.
I mean, the socials are there, but I can't tell you yet because we've still got we've got a whole load of legal stuff to get through. However, it's bloody exciting, and it's going to be immense. We're funded. If we get things right, it's going to be huge. And it's exciting generally anyway, because just even if I wasn't involved in this and I saw it come out, I'd be pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
And then I've got a whole load of artwork that's coming out, mixed media art that's coming out as well this year. I'm launching I'm launching it. We've been doing the work for like 2 years, but we're launching Polygon 8, which is going to be a new sort of creative digital art duo. Obviously Miroshot's touring at the moment, so get onto that, miroshot.com. That's MIROSHOT.com, or follow us on Instagram or Twitter, or even Discord. We've got a Discord channel. And my personal Instagram is jtronic with a K. Instagram.
I'll put the link to your Instagram in the bio. Perfect. Anyway. And
Miroshot. That's about to.
Would you be able to say the music artist you're doing it for?
No.
Would you be able to say the music artist you're doing for? I mean, I can cut this if not.
Yeah.
Has released an album.
I can't tell you that.
Because that only narrows it down to about 50 people.
Considering what I've spoken about today, more than one. I'll tell you, we're doing more than one. But the really big one is like really big. But I can't give you any clues. Then there's another one as well whose album's coming out later in the year. That's going to be huge, and potentially a record label that's signing me and Polygon 8 on to do a lot of stuff for all their artists, whether it comes to NFTs or even their archives. Hint, hint. I'm going to leave that there. But yeah. Amazing, mate. It's going to be big. It's going to be big, yeah. It's going to be big. Awesome. Yeah. Well, look, that was really cool. Cheers for coming on. It's been good chatting to you and catching up. We'll catch up properly in person at some point in the next few months. Yeah, good to see you, mate, and have a good day. Right, cool. Keep it real. Catch you later, mate. All right, cheers, bro.